After Luo Feng killed Thousand Eye Lord and forced the Six Lords Alliance and Cloud Treasure Tower to pay compensation, Shang Tianyan laughed that no one dared target him anymore. Luo Feng understood that Shi Kingdom's forces had intentionally released Shang Tianyan during the capture of the Formation Masters as a sign of goodwill toward him. Although Shi Kingdom repeatedly tried to befriend him, and Chairman Zan Yun had visited him several times, Luo Feng knew he would eventually stand against Shi Kingdom because of the grudge between his master, Mountain Sitting Guest, and Shi Kingdom. After leaving the Heavenly Flame sect with Morosa, Luo Feng visited the Flame Wind Pavilion. The pavilion master praised him for causing a sensation throughout Huyang City by forcing the Six Lords Alliance and Cloud Treasure Tower to compensate him with 1 million cosmic sand. Luo Feng stated that he came to reserve a large amount of artifact refining materials and send over a detailed list. The deputy pavilion master was shocked because the order was worth 3.65 million cosmic sand. Although the materials themselves were common, the enormous quantity exceeded what all businesses in Huyang City could provide locally. The Flame Wind Pavilion explained that the materials would arrive in 2 days through their regular spacetime transportation from the Flame Wind ancient country. Luo Feng immediately paid the 3.65 million cosmic sand. Grateful that the compensation from the Six Lords Alliance and Cloud Treasure Tower had allowed him to afford such an expensive purchase, the deputy pavilion master personally promised to deliver the materials. After Luo Feng departed, the pavilion master and deputy pavilion master speculated about his purpose. They believed he might be an artifact refining expert like Shang Tianyan and was perhaps trying to use artifact refining as his path toward becoming a primal chaos overlord. They also discussed the increasingly dangerous situation in Huyang City, where Shi Kingdom had gathered 3 major powers, Shui Yun, Yushin Shu, and Yushin Yi. They believed the capture of the 8 Formation Masters was only the beginning of a much greater conflict. Although Shi Kingdom clearly wished to avoid provoking Luo Feng, 2 days later, the deputy pavilion master personally delivered the materials. Luo Feng appreciated the immense capabilities of the Flame Wind Pavilion, whose space-time transportation network could move vast amounts of goods directly from the Flame Wind ancient country to Huyang City, a capability possessed only by the 2 ancient countries in the land of origin. After receiving the materials, Luo Feng announced to Morosa and Moyu Qingyan that he would enter a long closed-door cultivation and would reject all communication unless an extremely urgent situation arose. Only Morosa, as his spiritual servant, was permitted to contact him if necessary. Luo Feng then entered the Star Tower and began his 3rd body refinement. While Luo Feng remained in seclusion, the conflict between the Huyang City Lord's mansion and Shi Kingdom became increasingly fierce. Eventually, Deputy City Lord Moli Meng came personally to request Luo Feng's assistance. But Morosa refused to disturb his master, stating that Luo Feng had given strict orders to remain undisturbed unless Huyang City was facing destruction or another truly catastrophic event. Moli Meng could only leave helplessly. Inside his secluded cultivation, Luo Feng focused entirely on the highest level of the eternal true God stage of the primal chaos great strength diagram. This body refinement required profound understanding of the laws and was both a cultivation process and a refinement process. He also prepared tens of thousands of cosmic sand worth of materials for practice. Luo Feng's perfect divine body was comparable to an enormous weapon secret treasure. But its internal complexity was still relatively simple. Through the 3rd body refinement, he continuously improved the structure of his body, adding countless formation patterns and perfecting its operation. Because his divine body was unimaginably huge, the process was extremely difficult and tedious. After more than 30,000 days of continuous refinement in the land of origin, equivalent to over 30,000 years on Earth, Luo Feng finally completed the 3rd body refinement. His divine body now possessed a complexity comparable to ordinary eternal true God-level secret treasures. Despite being an enormous body measuring 18 billion kilometers tall, with a simple movement of his fist, terrifying power spread through the surrounding space. Luo Feng realized that even without burning divine power, he could easily destroy an entire Huyang Legion with his bare hands. He believed this achievement had fully unlocked the potential of the perfect divine body at the eternal true God level. Further body refinement would require the primal chaos realm, which was impossible for ordinary eternal true gods to achieve. Although he was uncertain how powerful he would become after using the secret technique Duan Mie and igniting divine power, Luo Feng was confident that among all eternal true gods in the land of origin, very few could rival him, as his perfect divine body gave him an unmatched advantage. After reaching the limit of improvement for his godly body, Luo Feng understood that his future cultivation would have to focus on two directions. The first was continuing to cultivate the Lai Yuan technique and seeking a breakthrough in his spiritual will, while the second was deepening his understanding of the laws by beginning to comprehend primal chaos realm techniques. He knew that the path of comprehending the primal chaos laws was extremely long and could not be completed in a short time. A cultivator had to gradually accumulate insights through many primal chaos techniques until, after enough accumulation, a moment of enlightenment would allow them to grasp the complete law of primal chaos. Unlike other cultivators who could rely on powerful bloodlines and undergo bloodline transformation to naturally advance into the primal chaos realm, Luo Feng did not have such a path available. His only choice was to continue advancing through his own comprehension of the primal chaos laws. Looking back at his current achievements, he had already perfected the eternal true God versions of the three secret techniques: Primal Chaos Great Strength Diagram, World-Breaking 9 Blades, and 9 Netherworlds. However, his understanding of donghua and Duan Mie was still incomplete, and the Lai Yuan technique, the most mysterious inheritance he possessed, still had enormous room for improvement. Even while contemplating his future path, Luo Feng continuously operated the Great Destruction Heart Refining technique to temper his spiritual will. The method caused tremendous pain, but after such a long period of cultivation, his will had become strong enough that he could endure it as naturally as breathing. After finishing his seclusion inside the Star Tower, his godly body returned to an ordinary state, and he left the underground palace. Thanks to his perfect divine body, every trace of his aura was completely hidden, causing even Morosa and Moyu Qingyan, who were closest to him, to be unable to detect any changes in his strength. Upon meeting them, Luo Feng noticed that Moyu Qingyan had returned from his family residence earlier than expected and asked about the reason. Morosa laughed and revealed that after Luo Feng entered seclusion, Moyu Qingyan had gone home to accompany his father and two brothers. However, his situation changed after both his eldest and third brothers married. The family began arranging potential marriage partners for him, and because of his status and talent, many female cultivators actively came to meet him. Some were so bold that they even visited Luo Feng's cave mansion directly. Unable to deal with the constant attention, Moyu Qingyan eventually returned and asked Morosa to scare away those visitors. Moyu Qingyan honestly admitted that he had no interest in love or marriage and only wanted to dedicate himself to understanding the 10 fundamental laws. Luo Feng did not force him to change his mind. He explained that once someone became a true god of void space, they would possess an almost endless lifespan, meaning there was no need to hurry in matters of romance. The right person would naturally appear when the time came, though it was clear that Moyu Qingyan remained completely focused on cultivation. The conversation soon shifted to the recent events in Huyang City. Luo Feng first asked whether Shang Tianyan had encountered any danger, but Morosa assured him that no one dared target Shang Tianyan anymore because of Luo Feng's reputation. However, the conflict between the city owner's mansion and the infiltrating forces of Shi Kingdom had intensified significantly. Multiple battles had occurred throughout Huyang City, resulting in many deaths and injuries. Among all the incidents, the most shocking involved Gao Wu Shui. Originally, he had been an ordinary and neglected member of the Gao Wu family who had little connection with his relatives. He left the family at a young age, joined the Huyang Legion as an ordinary soldier, and eventually caught the attention of Commander Mo Li Xiao, who personally nurtured and supported him. Under Mo Li Xiao's guidance, Gao Wu Shui rose rapidly until he became an eternal true god and one of the leaders of the Huyang Guards. Recently, the Gao Wu family's clan leader, Gao Wu Wei, hosted a banquet to honor him, but during the gathering, Gao Wu Shui suddenly turned against his own family. He summoned the Huyang Guards, arrested the clan leader and other important family members, including his own father, and publicly accused them of secretly cooperating with the forces of Shi Kingdom. Because this accusation was considered treason, Gao Wu Wei was quickly executed. Although Luo Feng understood that Gao Wu Shui had little emotional attachment to his family, the people of Huyang City were still greatly shocked by his ruthless actions. and many suspected that he had deliberately framed his family to eliminate them. Luo Feng was slightly amused by how much information Morosa had gathered. And Morosa explained that he learned many things while spending his time eating, drinking, and listening to discussions around the city. He then reminded Luo Feng that Mo Li Meng had visited during his seclusion and specifically requested that Luo Feng contact him immediately after leaving seclusion. After receiving Luo Feng's message, Mo Li Xiao and Mo Li Meng arrived quickly to meet him in person. Inside the mountain pavilion, after Moyu Qingyan served them wine and prepared exotic fruits, Mo Li Xiao explained the purpose of their visit. The city owner's mansion was under tremendous pressure due to the continuous actions of Shi Kingdom's forces and hoped to recruit Luo Feng's strength to protect an important location. Luo Feng initially rejected the proposal, explaining that he had no personal conflict with Shi Kingdom and saw no reason to risk fighting their powerful forces. Mo Li Xiao understood his concerns but argued that, unlike the major families of Huyang City, Luo Feng had no family or territory that Shi Kingdom could threaten. Furthermore, the primal chaos overlord of Shi Kingdom would not personally lower his status to attack an eternal true god. Meaning Luo Feng would only need to face other eternal true gods, which Mo Li Xiao believed was not a serious threat to him. Even so, Luo Feng stated that not fearing an enemy did not mean he was willing to fight without sufficient reason. Mo Li Xiao then revealed the city owner's offer. Luo Feng only needed to guard a crucial location for at most 1 era and would receive 1 million cosmic sand as compensation. However, Luo Feng was not interested in such a reward, since he had already forced the Six Lords Alliance and Cloud Treasure Tower to pay him the same amount in a single day. Understanding that ordinary wealth could not persuade him, Mo Li Xiao asked what he wanted, and Luo Feng requested a portion of black marsh poison, a special treasure produced by Yu Kingdom that contained extremely powerful venom. Although fatal in large quantities, tiny amounts could be consumed to continuously temper and strengthen the spiritual will. Through the knowledge left by mountain-sitting guest and the inheritance of the Duan-Dong River lineage, Luo Feng knew many rare treasures in the land of origin and recognized that black marsh poison was particularly useful for his current cultivation, since it was usually supplied only to descendants of major royal families and rarely sold in ordinary cities. Acquiring it elsewhere would require paying several times its normal value. Mo Li Xiao immediately consulted the city owner and other high-ranking officials through his divine power incarnation. And after discussion, they agreed to request a portion of black marsh poison from the royal family. Once this condition was accepted, Luo Feng agreed to join their defense. Meanwhile, at the city owner's mansion, the Lord of Huyang City, an elderly expert, Mo Li Xiao's incarnation, and General Yang discussed the decision. They believed Luo Feng was an ideal ally because he was independent, fearless toward both the 5 great families and Shi Kingdom, and had no personal attachments that enemies could exploit. While his knowledge of black marsh poison indicated a deep background and extraordinary experience, the elderly expert believed that with Luo Feng's assistance, the defensive arrangements of Huyang City's 3 forbidden lands would no longer have weaknesses. However, General Yang, a supreme eternal true god from the ancient royal family of Yu Kingdom who commanded an army under the godly king, held a different opinion. Since no one had personally witnessed Luo Feng killing Yang Kang, he was uncertain whether Luo Feng's true strength matched his reputation. Believing the city owner's own forces were more reliable and even expressing interest in testing Luo Feng's abilities, though he ultimately chose not to create unnecessary problems given the priority of the conflict with Shi Kingdom. Soon afterward, Mo Li Xiao personally escorted Luo Feng, Morosa, and Moyu Qingyan to their assigned location, the camp of the Jin Shao Legion, one of Huyang City's 10 great legions, which, despite appearing to be an ordinary military camp, was actually one of the city's 3 highly confidential forbidden lands, with 2 teams of Huyang guards secretly hidden there alongside the openly stationed legion. Upon arrival, the general of the Jin Shao Legion and the 2 leaders of the Huyang guards came to welcome them. And Luo Feng noticed that one of the leaders was Gao Wu Shui. Showing their paths had crossed again, Mo Li Xiao announced that Luo Feng would be stationed there with complete freedom of movement while existing defense plans remained unchanged. Before settling in, Luo Feng reminded Mo Li Xiao that the promised black marsh poison needed to be delivered quickly or he would leave. And Mo Li Xiao confidently assured him the city owner's mansion would not break its promise. Observing the respect and friendliness shown by the normally strict commander, the Jin Shao Legion and Huyang Guard leaders understood that even the combined strength of an entire legion and 2 elite guard teams was likely far weaker than Luo Feng alone. Meaning the true protection of this forbidden land was now the presence of Lord Luo he himself. Mo Shao then ordered General Jin Shao and the 2 Huyang Guard leaders to keep Luo He's presence in the camp secret and brought Luo Feng to an elegant cave mansion prepared for him within the vast Jin Shao Legion camp, which housed over 20 million true gods. While ordinary soldiers remained unaware of its true importance, Luo Feng was satisfied with the residence and settled there with Morosa and Moyu Qingyan. And Mo Shao reminded him not to leave the camp since Shi Kingdom's forces could attack at any moment. To which Luo Feng agreed. 5 days later, Mo Meng delivered the Black Marsh poison, a deadly substance extracted from a primal chaos-level exotic beast, warning Luo Feng to consume it carefully starting with only 1 drop, as excessive amounts could be fatal. However, Luo Feng, possessing 2 great inheritances and a powerful perfect divine body, understood the poison well and believed small amounts would have little effect on his exceptionally strong soul and spiritual will. He then entered seclusion within the Jin Shao Legion camp, where only the top commanders of the Jin Shao Legion and Huyang Guard knew the camp's true mission, while ordinary soldiers continued their duties without any awareness of the secret. Meanwhile, Gao Wu Shui returned to his family estate, where as the only remaining eternal true god he had established absolute authority after eliminating many former senior members involved in treason. He visited his imprisoned father, Gao Wu Kui, who accused him of betraying the family and lacking respect for their father-son relationship. Gao Wu Shui revealed his resentment toward his father, explaining that he was born from a brief relationship between Gao Wu Kui and a maid, and that his father had never cared for him or his mother, who eventually died silently within the family. He survived through his own efforts and was later raised by his master after joining the Huyang Legion, only gaining his father's acknowledgement after becoming his master's disciple. After becoming an eternal true god, the family initially treated him respectfully, but the former clan leaders secretly attempted to recruit him as an agent for the Shi Kingdom, since they were willing to sacrifice him and betray his master. Gao Wu Shui considered everyone involved with the Shi Kingdom deserving of death, sparing only Gao Wu Kui because his father had been unaware of the conspiracy and due to their blood relation. Gao Wu Kui still believed Gao Wu Shui had betrayed the family. But Gao Wu Shui argued that he was now the clan leader and the family's sole eternal true god, meaning that as long as he lived the family would survive, whereas his death would lead to its destruction. He declared that his mother gave him life and his master raised him, while his father had contributed nothing but his birth. Before leaving him imprisoned, elsewhere in a hidden underground hall in Huyang City, Shui Yun met with Yushin Shu and Yushin Yi. They had spent a long time attempting to gather information about the 3 restricted areas that formed the core of Huyang City's grand formation. But the city owner's mansion had heavily protected these areas, making infiltration extremely difficult, and their previous attempt to use Gao Wu Wei to persuade Gao Wu Shui had failed and resulted in Gao Wu Wei's death. Believing their preparations were complete, Shui Yun decided it was time to act, planning to target the 3 restricted areas because destroying even one would greatly weaken the power of Huyang City's formation. He believed that with himself, Yushin Shu, and Yushin Yi working together, they were strong enough to challenge any hidden forces of the city owner's mansion. Yushin Shu possessed an extraordinary bloodline with a godly body that Shui Yun believed could rival an unlimited godly body, while Yushin Yi was a peak eternal true god comparable to Commander Mo Shao, and with these 3 united, they were extremely confident in their mission. Inside his cave mansion, Luo Feng cultivated his spiritual will by drinking wine mixed with black marsh poison while simultaneously practicing the Great Destruction heart refining technique, by using the Duan Dong River inheritance. He refined the poison into black marsh fruit wine to enhance its effects while reducing the required toxicity. And although this method would be unbearable for most cultivators, Luo Feng had already endured far greater pain during his Star Tower inheritance and thus found the suffering acceptable. Later, Mo Meng complained about being confined within the camp for an entire era and asked Luo Feng for permission to go out and enjoy himself. But Luo Feng criticized his impatience and refused, stating they would only leave after the Shi Kingdom attacked or once the full era had passed. Suddenly, an extremely cold and terrifying aura descended without warning, and in an instant the entire Jin Shao Legion camp, spanning hundreds of millions of kilometers, was frozen under frost. Luo Feng immediately realized that the Shi Kingdom's attack had arrived far earlier than expected. While Mo Meng became excited at the long-awaited battle, Luo Feng instructed Morosa to protect Moyu Qingyan and left the cave mansion carrying a wine pot, while Morosa remained behind under the protection of the formation, reassuring the nervous Moyu Qingyan that he would only use the flying boat's secret treasure in a critical moment and telling him to calmly observe the battle. Luo Feng then arrived at the entrance of the Forbidden Land beneath a core building and declared that no one would pass while he guarded it. Above the camp, Yushin Yi deployed a massive snowy heavenly net that descended and bound the Jin Shao Legion, the three-sword sky-splitting beast, and the saber-winged devouring insect, greatly suppressing their strength. And Luo Feng judged that the expert who used such a technique was nearly as powerful as Mo Shao. Yushin Yi revealed herself in her frost body and launched her assault on the camp. But despite being restrained, the Jin Shao Legion activated the Huyang City formation, causing numerous powerful formations to manifest in the sky and form a massive abyssal vortex that suppressed Yushin Yi and weakened her heavenly net, while also empowering 3 mechanical flow secret treasures to attack her. However, Yushin Yi, one of the 5 gods of Yushin, had already mastered primal chaos blade techniques and possessed a powerful frost body created through a mechanical flow secret treasure, allowing her to unleash 9 terrifying ice blades and simultaneously battle all 3 mechanical flow secret treasures. General Jin Shao informed the Huyang Guard leaders that they could only hold her back and that the defense of the Forbidden Land depended entirely on Luo Feng. Meanwhile, within the city owner's mansion, the Lord of Huyang City, Mo Shao, a white-haired elder, and General Yang observed the entire battlefield and realized that Shi Kingdom's eternal true gods were attacking residential districts and slaughtering civilians to force the Huyang Guards to divide their forces, which could lead to mass panic, population loss, reduced residence fee income, and punishment from the Marquis of Zhujiang. In response, the Lord of Huyang City ordered the Huyang Guards to protect the civilians while assigning trusted allies to defend the 3 forbidden areas, with himself remaining behind to guard the city owner's mansion. On the battlefield, after the Huyang City formation revealed its power, 3 of the 5 attacking eternal true gods from the Shi Kingdom retreated toward the residential areas and began destroying their protective formations to massacre civilians. And seeing this, Luo Feng became enraged and put away his wine pot. He immediately donned his golden armor and activated the Sha Wu Wings, and without holding back, he unleashed his perfect divine power along with the primal chaos realm technique, control primal chaos, creating a vast domain spanning tens of billions of kilometers that transformed everything within it into chaotic power, with endless primal chaos currents binding and crushing the invading enemies. Although the 3 eternal true gods were each extremely powerful, comparable to Hei Duomo and capable of earning mechanical flow secret treasures through sufficient merit, they were completely overwhelmed by the terrifying suppression, resulting in 2 being annihilated outright while the 3rd narrowly survived by using a special life preservation method that prevented the destruction of his true god's heart. After killing 2 enemies, Luo Feng felt some regret that he had not completely eradicated all 3. He then turned his attention toward Yushin Yi and the thunder-wielding eternal true god who remained on the battlefield. Yushin Yi recognized Luo Feng's strength and showed a strong desire to battle him, as his primal chaos domain alone was not enough to make her retreat. Luo Feng originally enjoyed watching the battle while drinking wine, although he knew that because of his master, mountain-sitting guest, he and Shi Kingdom might become enemies in the future. He personally held no significant hostility toward the cultivators of Shi Kingdom. However, the moment he saw them indiscriminately slaughtering the weak true gods, his killing intent exploded. In his view, battles between nations were normal, where each side fought for its own interests. But massacring the weak was an unforgivable act of cruelty. With cold eyes, he searched the Flame Wind Association's Dark Hall for information on Yushin Yi and discovered that her bounty was worth 500.000 cosmic sands. Without hesitation, he accepted the mission. The bounties listed in Huyang City were only those issued by the local branch of the Flame Wind Association, and only important figures could have such rewards, since even the smallest bounty required a deposit of 10,000 cosmic sands. Most eternal true gods had no bounty at all. Up to this point, even a figure as famous as Luo Feng had no bounty placed on him. Meanwhile, Yushin Yi observed Luo Feng's overwhelming performance and speculated that his strength came from an extraordinary composite mechanical stream secret treasure. Such treasures could refine ordinary divine power into primal chaos divine power and allow an eternal true god to unleash power close to the primal chaos level. She remembered the Blood Python Association leader's final report, which claimed that Luo Feng's mechanical stream secret treasure was worth at least 5 million cosmic sands, and this immediately stirred her greed and curiosity. At that time, among Yushin Yi's subordinates, only the eternal true god controlling the mechanical stream secret treasure core of thunder remained alive. After countless years of cultivation and refinement, his mastery over the treasure had reached an astonishing level, giving him strength not inferior to the Blood Python Association leader. However, under the combined suppression of Huyang City's Grand Formation and Luo Feng's Sha Wu Wing's primal chaos domain, he was completely restrained by the chaotic currents, pressed to the ground and unable to move. Seeing his desperate situation, the Thunder Eternal True God begged Yushin Yi for rescue. Streams of snow-white silk threads immediately appeared throughout the void, wrapped around him, and pulled him away. Yushin Yi told him to escape first while she personally tested the strength of Lord Luohe. However, Luo Feng had no intention of allowing him to escape. Standing at the temple entrance, he took a single step and used the Myriad Realms escape command that he had obtained from Ying Kang. His figure instantly traversed the void and appeared beside the fleeing Thunder Eternal True God. The enemy was completely shocked and unable to react. Luo Feng's hand became like a sharp blade as he pierced through the protective snow-white threads, stabbed directly into his chest, seized his true god's heart, and crushed it. The eternal true god died instantly, and Luo Feng calmly collected his corpse and remaining treasures while the silk threads disappeared. Yushin Yi was surprised by Luo Feng's ability to freely traverse the void. The authority to control space within Huyang City was normally not easily entrusted to outsiders, even powerful allies, because the city lord's mansion always guarded against the possibility that hired warriors could betray them. Yet Luo Feng had clearly received such trust. Luo Feng then looked toward Yushin Yi and coldly asked whether she was prepared to die. Yushin Yi remained completely confident, declaring that among all the eternal true gods she had encountered, none had ever been able to kill her. With a burst of power, countless cold ice blades erupted around her, forcing back the giant Jin Shao, the three-sword sky-splitting beast, and the saber-winged devouring insect. Despite controlling powerful Legion-type mechanical stream secret treasures and having the support of Huyang City's formation, the three were still completely suppressed by Yushin Yi's terrifying strength and could not stop her. When Luo Feng mentioned that he had heard her blade techniques had reached the Chaos Realm level and that he also knew several blade techniques, Yushin Yi immediately launched a direct assault. 9 cold ice blades condensed in front of her, carrying a force that seemed capable of splitting heaven and earth. The surrounding space was completely sealed, leaving Luo Feng with no route of escape. Luo Feng judged that in terms of stealth and assassination, Ying Kang was superior, but in a frontal confrontation, Yushin Yi was even more dangerous. Since he could not avoid her attack, he chose to face it directly. At the critical moment when the 9 blades approached, he activated 10 Directions Infinite Blade, the only purely defensive technique among the world-breaking 9 blades. He treated his own thrice-refined perfect divine body as a divine blade, causing endless layers of blade shadows to circulate around him. Yushin Yi was extremely confident in her ultimate attack and believed the 9 cold ice blades could cut through all obstacles. The blades smashed through layer after layer of Luo Feng's defensive blade shadows, but their power was continuously weakened. When they finally reached his physical body, they only left slight marks on his skin. His perfect divine body instantly regenerated, erasing all traces of damage. Luo Feng judged that his 10 Directions Infinite Blade still lacked sufficient power because it was far from reaching the true level of a Chaos Realm blade technique. However, after more than 20 years of cultivation, he had become much stronger than when he first fought Ying Kang. He had not even activated Duan Mie to burn divine power and had relied solely on the natural strength of his thrice-refined perfect divine body. The result shocked Yushin Yi. Her most proud ultimate move had failed to seriously harm him. She concluded that Luo Feng possessed a complete set of mechanical stream secret treasures specialized in domains, defense, and movement. Believing that continuing the battle was pointless, she mocked him for relying on treasures and decided to withdraw. The moment she flew away, Luo Feng used the Myriad Realms escape command to instantly appear in her path. However, Yushin Yi had already predicted his actions. She released countless snow-white threads that formed a massive net, trapping him while she attempted to escape into the distant night sky. At that moment, Luo Feng finally drew his Emperor-level blade embryo. He poured the terrifying power of his thrice-refined perfect divine body into the weapon, and a blade light capable of tearing apart heaven and earth erupted. The strike instantly split apart the snow-white net and chased toward Yushin Yi. She barely avoided the main force of the attack, but even the remaining power of the blade completely destroyed one of her arms. The frightening power of this strike deeply shocked Yushin Yi. She felt that Luo Feng's attack was even fiercer than the blade techniques of her second brother. Before she could recover, Luo Feng followed the path of his blade light, combining the explosive speed of his perfect divine body with the spatial control of the Myriad Realms escape command. He rapidly closed the distance and gave her no chance to flee. With a terrifying collision, Luo Feng smashed directly into Yushin Yi's frost body and completely destroyed it. However, after the body shattered, Luo Feng frowned because he discovered that the opponent he had fought from the beginning was only a frost body condensed from the power of frost. Yushin Yi's true body had never entered his primal chaos domain and was hidden elsewhere, making it impossible for him to kill her completely. This made Luo Feng realize once again how difficult it was to truly kill powerful eternal true gods. Ancient primal chaos overlords spent tremendous effort creating life preservation methods and even reincarnation techniques. Even godly kings could not confidently claim they could permanently erase a primal chaos overlord. His own master, Mountain Sitting Guest, was an example, having chosen reincarnation to sever his karma and hide himself completely, becoming a dangerous hidden enemy of Shi Kingdom. After the battle ended, Luo Feng concluded that among the 5 eternal true gods sent by Shi Kingdom, only 3 had truly been killed. Jin Shao, the 3-sword sky-splitting beast, and the saber-winged devouring insect arrived with excitement, admiring how Luo Feng had overwhelmed Yushin Yi with a single decisive attack. However, Luo Feng himself was not satisfied because he had accepted her bounty but failed to kill her true body. Soon afterward, he sensed terrifying battle fluctuations erupting from other areas around Huyang City. The most frightening one came from the southwest, where 2 immensely powerful beings were fighting at a level even higher than Yushin Yi and Ying Kang. Luo Feng judged that if he did not activate Duan Mie and burn divine power, he might not be able to compete with such opponents. Therefore, he immediately transmitted a message to Moli Shao, informing him that the Shi Kingdom forces in his region had been completely defeated and asking whether his assistance was needed in the southwest battlefield.